As the weeks passed, Tommy's feelings for Sarah grew stronger. He had always admired her as a friend, but now, seeing her work so hard and carry the weight of her family's troubles with such grace, he couldn't help but feel a deeper connection to her. One evening, as they sat on the porch after the shop had closed, Tommy looked at Sarah with an intensity that made her heart race. He had something he needed to say, and Sarah could sense it. "Sarah," he said quietly, his voice barely above a whisper. "I've been thinking about this for a long time now. I've always cared about you, but lately I've realized that I care about you more than just as a friend." Sarah looked at him, her heart pounding. She had always thought of Tommy as a good friend, but now, in the quiet of the evening, she saw him in a new light. His kindness, his patience, his unwavering support, all of it made her feel seen in a way no one else did. "I'm not sure what to say, Tommy," she whispered, her voice trembling. Tommy reached out, taking her hand gently. "You don't have to say anything right away, but I want you to know that I'm here for you. I want to stand by your side, no matter what happens. Will you be with me, Sarah? Will you let me be there for you through everything?" Sarah's heart raced. She wanted to say yes, but there were so many things holding her back. Her family's situation, the town's gossip, the weight of everything she had to carry. But looking at Tommy, she felt something stir inside her, a sense of hope. The days that followed Tommy's proposal were filled with turmoil for Sarah. Her mind was clouded with doubt and uncertainty. She cared deeply for Tommy, and his words had stirred something inside her. But could she truly accept his offer? She had so many responsibilities. Her parents, the small shop, and the weight of her family's financial troubles. She couldn't afford to think about herself, not when her family was depending on her. One afternoon, as Sarah was sitting in the small kitchen with her mother, she felt the familiar weight of worry settle on her chest. Her mother had been looking more tired than usual, her once vibrant energy now replaced by a quiet exhaustion. Sarah had noticed it over the past few days, the way her mother seemed to slow down, her movements sluggish, her breathing a little heavier. "I'm fine, Sarah," her mother would say when Sarah asked if she needed help. "Just a little tired, that's all." But Sarah could tell that something was wrong. That evening, after they had finished dinner, Sarah's mother collapsed in the living room. It was sudden, and the sight of her mother lying there, pale and breathless, sent a wave of panic through Sarah's body. "Mama!" Sarah cried out, rushing to her side. "Mama, wake up, please!" Her father, who had been sitting in the corner, startled at the sound of her voice. He immediately ran over, but it was clear that he, too, was frightened. They quickly rushed her to the small-town doctor, who, after a quick examination, confirmed their worst fears. Her mother was gravely ill. She had a severe infection, and with her body already weakened from the stress of recent months, it was going to be a tough fight. The doctor did his best to reassure them, but Sarah could feel her world starting to crumble. Everything she had worked for, everything she had tried to keep together, was slipping away. Her father could barely hold himself together, and Sarah found herself in the middle, trying to be strong for both of them. That night, as she sat by her mother's bedside, she felt a hand on her shoulder. It was Tommy. "I'm here, Sarah," he whispered softly, sitting next to her. He didn't need to say anything else. His presence was enough. "I don't know how to do this alone, Tommy," Sarah said, her voice breaking. "I don't know how to keep everything together." Tommy gently took her hand, holding it tightly. "You don't have to do it alone," he said, his voice steady and calm. "I'll be here for you, every step of the way. We can face this together." Sarah closed her eyes, the weight of his words washing over her. She had always thought she was strong enough to carry the burden on her own, but now she realized how much she needed help. Tommy wasn't just offering her love. He was offering her the strength to face the storm that had come. The following weeks were filled with challenges. Sarah had to balance her time between taking care of her mother, working at the shop, and keeping her father's spirits up. The worry on her face never seemed to fade, and the exhaustion in her eyes grew deeper with each passing day. But through it all, Tommy never wavered. He visited every day, helping with whatever he could. Sometimes it was just sitting with Sarah while she cared for her mother. Other times it was running errands or helping her father with tasks around the house. Tommy's devotion to Sarah and her family didn't go unnoticed. Even though the gossips in town continued to whisper, some of the townspeople started to see the truth. Tommy wasn't just a young man helping out. He was deeply in love with Sarah. And as much as it stung, Sarah started to realize that Tommy's love was exactly what she needed. She had spent so much of her life trying to protect her family that she had forgotten how important it was to lean on others, too. Sarah's mother slowly recovered, though it was clear she wouldn't ever be fully the same. But seeing her mother get better, even if only slightly, was a victory Sarah cherished deeply. Her mother's bright smile, though weak, was enough to give Sarah the courage to keep going. And Tommy was always there. Even when Sarah felt overwhelmed, even when the weight of her family's struggles seemed impossible to bear, Tommy stayed by her side. He became more than just a friend. He became her strength. While Sarah's family was going through its own turmoil, Tommy was also dealing with the pressure of his family's expectations. His parents, especially his mother, had always dreamed of him marrying someone from a wealthier family. They had hoped he would find a wife who could help elevate their social standing, someone who could offer the family a better future. When Tommy told them about his feelings for Sarah, his mother was not pleased. She had heard about the Morgan family's financial troubles, and she couldn't understand why Tommy would choose to marry a girl from such a situation. "Tommy, you're young," his mother had said, her voice filled with concern. "You don't know what kind of future you're setting up for yourself. Sarah Morgan's family has nothing left. She's kind, yes, but she's also poor. What will you do when the money runs out? What about your career?" Tommy had always respected his parents, but he knew in his heart that they didn't understand his feelings. He wasn't interested in wealth or status. He was interested in Sarah. He tried to explain that love wasn't about money, that Sarah's strength and resilience were more valuable than any material possession. But his parents weren't convinced. One evening, after a particularly heated conversation with his mother, Tommy walked over to Sarah's house. He had never felt so conflicted. On one hand, his parents' wishes still weighed heavily on him, but on the other, his love for Sarah was undeniable. When he arrived at Sarah's house, he found her sitting on the porch, looking out over the sea. She was tired, but there was a peacefulness to her now that made her even more beautiful in his eyes. "Sarah," Tommy said, his voice uncertain, "I need to talk to you." She turned to face him, her expression gentle but serious. "What's wrong, Tommy?" Tommy hesitated, then sat beside her. "My family, they don't understand. They think I'm making a mistake. They don't believe in us." Sarah looked at him, her heart aching. "I don't want you to choose me over your family," she said quietly. "I never wanted that." Tommy took her hand, his voice firm. "Sarah, I love you, and I'm willing to face whatever comes, even if it means standing up to my family. I want to be with you." Tears welled up in Sarah's eyes as she looked at him. "You mean it? You really want to be with me, even though we have nothing?" Tommy smiled, his eyes filled with certainty. "We have each other, and that's enough." After months of hardship, waiting, and overcoming obstacles, Tommy and Sarah's relationship deepened. The town's whispers faded into the background as they began to see the truth in what they had: love, mutual respect, and an unwavering commitment to each other. Tommy's family eventually came to terms with his choice, though it wasn't easy. His mother reluctantly accepted Sarah, understanding that Tommy's happiness was the most important thing. Sarah and Tommy had a simple wedding, surrounded by their closest friends and family. The ceremony took place near the sea, where Sarah had spent so much of her childhood. It was a small gathering, but it was perfect in its simplicity. Sarah wore the blue ribbon in her hair, just as she had worn it on the toughest days. It was a symbol of the love her mother had given her and the strength she had carried through all the hardships. Tommy and Sarah exchanged vows, promising to love and support each other through every storm that life would bring. Sarah and Tommy's life together was modest, but it was filled with joy. They moved into a small home by the sea, and Sarah continued to work in the community. Tommy became a teacher, helping the children in town learn and grow. They didn't have wealth, but they had each other, and that was enough. The blue ribbon remained a symbol of their journey, reminding them of the love and strength that had carried them through even the darkest times. Sarah often looked at it, remembering how far she had come, and how, despite everything, she had found happiness in the simplest things. They faced challenges, of course, but together they could face anything.